reality, the ego is like the clown in the circus, who is always putting in his oar to make the audience think that whatever happens is his doing. Limitation in the possibility of an enjoyment raises the value of the enjoyment. Love and work. Work and love. That's all there is. What else does psychoanalysis do here but confirm the old saying of Plato, that the good people are those who content themselves with dreaming what the others, the bad people, really do? We are so made that we can only derive intense enjoyment from a contrast and only very little from a state of things. No serious book can now be sure of surviving. Therefore, let us not undervalue small signs. Perhaps by means of them we will succeed in getting on the track of greater things. The liberty of the individual is not a benefit of culture. It was greatest before any culture, though indeed it had little value at that time, because the individual was hardly in a position to defend it. It was found that men become neurotic because they cannot tolerate the degree of privation that society imposes on them in virtue of its cultural ideals, and it was supposed that a return to greater possibilities of happiness would ensue if these standards were abolished or greatly relaxed. For those particular illusions, there may well have been a past. It is problematic, however, if there is now much of a future. The ideas so far produced are insufficient for the interpretation of the dream. It is the relation of similarity, congruence, or convergence, the just like, which dreams have the most various means of expressing better than anything else. The mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. One day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. I cannot discover this oceanic feeling in myself. It is not easy to deal scientifically with feelings. A woman should soften but not weaken a man. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. Religious doctrines are all illusions. They do not admit of proof, and no one can be compelled to consider them as true or to believe in them. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. Analysis does not set out to make pathological reactions impossible, but to give the patient's ego freedom to decide one way or another. Woman who has just been delivered of a child, her oven has caved in. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. He that has eyes to see and ears to hear may convince himself that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips. Betrayal oozes out of him at every pore. Where does a thought go when it's forgotten? Children do not as yet recognize or, at any rate, lay such exaggerated stress upon the gulf that separates human beings from the animal world. Dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. My love is something valuable to me which I ought not to throw away without reflection. The intention that man should be happy is not in the plan of creation. Men are more moral than they think and far more immoral than they can imagine. Love and work are the cornerstones of our humanness. The creative writer does the same as the child at play. He creates a world of fantasy which he takes very seriously. What progress we are making! In the Middle Ages they would have burned me. Now they are content with burning my books. Loneliness and darkness have just robbed me of my valuables. The more the fruits of knowledge become accessible to men, the more widespread is the decline of religious belief. A man should not strive to eliminate his complexes, but to get into accord with them. They are legitimately what directs his conduct in the world. The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind. Poets are masters of us ordinary men in knowledge of the mind, because they drink at streams which we have not yet made accessible to science. The ego is not master in its own house. How bold one gets when one is sure of being loved.